So in the last lecture, we discussed about HTML, right? So we talked about what is HTML. HTML, we talked about tags, okay? So any tag that starts has to be ended also, right? So for example, if I start with something like HTML tag, I should end it with a /HTML, right? So like this, any tag that we start, we also have to end it, okay? So everything and everything that you write between becomes a part of this tag, okay? So it can have just one single line if you want. It can also have multiple lines of content. So we also learned how to access HTML code from an existing website, right? So we can go to a website and look at its source code to basically understand how this website is being built, right? And we also learned that website has to be designed for different screen sizes, and also it has to be designed for people who have very slow internet connection, which means like we have to design the website to be as light as possible or as less file size as possible. Even if we use pictures and other graphics, we need to optimize it to the minimum file size possible, so that even people who have slow internet connection will also be able to access those content without any problem, right? Okay, so now we also looked at the basic user interface of Dreamweaver, right? So we saw that there is a design section, there is a coding section. We can look at design and coding at the same time. When we make a change in the design section, Dreamweaver automatically updates the coding section, and also when you write something in the code, it also updates the design section by itself, right? So we also have a live mode, which actually helps us to preview our website, okay? But keep in mind, always live mode may not give you the accurate results, so we need to finally check it in a web browser like Google Chrome, okay, to make sure that our website is working fine. Great. So now let's start with the design aspect or design process of creating a website, okay? So first thing we need to keep in mind is like we can divide a website into 3 or 4 different sections, okay? So let's say, for example, this is your website. Oops. Okay, so this is the website. Now we can divide this into 3 or 4 different sections. Okay, let's see how we can divide it into 3 different sections. Okay, so let me change the color just to have a difference. Okay, so the first section, that is this top area. Okay, so this is called as header. Okay, so this is HADER. Okay, so this is header, and next to the header is our content section, which is going to be big. Okay, so this is the content. Okay, and below that we have a very small area, depending on what kind of design that you have. Sometimes you might have a bigger section here as well. So this is footer. Okay, so we have a header in the top, we have a content section, and then finally we have footer. Okay, so this is the 3 sections that we can have. So header is basically going to have, what all things can we have in header? We can have logo, okay, and if you want, we can have like an animated banner, okay, or you can have some profile pictures, okay, so things like that. So all those things that are important, all those things that you want to show to the viewers as a first impression, you can put it there. Okay, so you can put the logo here, or you can put the logo here, and then you can have the title or the name of the company, or anything that you think to be very important, or to be the headline content. Okay, something that you want the viewers to see first. Okay, so that's what comes into the header section. Now, header can also have your menu as part of the header itself. Okay, so you can have the menu here. Okay, so this is basically what I wanted to mention as the fourth part. If you don't make menu as a part of the header, you can actually have menu as a fourth part as well in the entire design. Okay, now sometimes some people like to have menu, let me change the color here. Okay, so let's make it green. Okay, so some people like to have the menu here. Okay, so like this, 1 menu, 2 menu, 3 menu, like that as well. Okay, or you can have it on the left side, you can have it on top of all these things. Okay, so it's basically depending on what kind of design you want to make. So you need to think about where you want to put the menu. Do you want to have them vertically? Do you want to have them horizontally? That's all totally up to you. Okay, so design it based on your interest and your liking. Okay, so that is our header section. So next we have our content section. Okay, so content section is where you're going to have most of the stuff. Okay, so this is going to take up like almost like 75% of your website. Okay, and this content section can go more than this also. There's no limit on this. Okay, so the more content that you add, you can scroll down and up more to see as much as you want. Right, so this content section you need to divide into different sections inside that. Okay, so you cannot have the entire content section as one big chunk. Right, so you can divide it into different sections. Let's say, for example, you can have a 2-column layout. So this could be, okay, so this could be 1 column, and you can have a 2nd column. Right, so this is a 2-column layout. So you can have like maybe like news, you can have a picture, okay, and more news. That becomes one section. And for the second section too, you can have a picture here, and then you can have some news, text, and you can have an animated banner here. Up to you. Okay, so that becomes one design, and you can have more content here below this. Again, another column here. That's totally up to you. Okay, so this is one way of designing a content page. This is a 2-column layout. So this is column number 1. This becomes column number 2. Right, now when you have these 2-column layout, you can have a layout where both these columns are in the same size. Okay, so that's one way. Or you can also have a column layout where you can have you can have different sizes. So for example, let's say this is our content page, right? So now I can also have let's say, make it black. Okay, so I can have this to be smaller, okay, and this to be bigger. So this is more of a, I'm so bad in drawing. Okay, so this could be like a 25% and 75% space. Okay, so more space to the right side one, less space to the left side one. So maybe this could maybe you can have an advertisement here. Okay, you can have an advertisement, like an animated advertisement, and then you can further divide this into different sections. So let's say I can put one here, so I can have some content here up, some content I can have down here, right? So this is like a 75-25 split, right? So you can also have for example, you can have 75% here and then 25% here as well. So there's unlimited way of splitting these things into different sections. Okay, now keep in mind, Dreamweaver design or website design is always about splitting things into smaller boxes. Okay, so the more boxes that you have, the more easier we can arrange things. Okay, so we, even if you see some places like circular designs, oval designs, and different designs, they are all part of a rectangular design. Okay, so primarily we will have everything as a rectangle, and inside those rectangle is where we create other shapes like circular shapes and things like that. So even if you see a circular, it will have a bounding box. So when you have overlapping stuff, then you need to put them in different layers, one on top of the other, to create those kind of different results. Okay, so that is our content page, right? So next to content we have footer. Yes, you can have contact information. Okay, you can have social media links, right? So social media's link is part of the contact only, right? So social media. Okay, you can have copyright information. Okay, so contact information, copyright information. Some people like to have something called a sitemap. Okay, so anything that you that are essential for a website but can be used in the last section, right? So it's not that important that you want to promote it. It is for the people who want to communicate with you. They need to know these things. Okay, so it is basically for them to be able to access these content. You can also give a dedicated space for menu if you want. So that way it will become like, so if I draw something like this, right? So you will have one section for, so this top becomes your header, right? And you can have another small section here, slim one for menu. Okay, okay, so this is your header, then you have menu, and then you can have your content space, and then finally you will have footer. Header, menu, content, and footer. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to decide the size of each of these sections. Okay, so the size is very important before we start to do anything with Dreamweaver. Okay, the reason is because when we design a website, it is going to be viewed in different computers, as we discussed earlier, right? So the way we put things in different sections, right? So the way Dreamweaver, a web browser is going to analyze this website and arrange this website, it needs to know the every single pixel, what kind of content or what content is going to be, right? So when I say I have a header here, I also have to say what is the, let me change the color. Let's make it green. Okay, so what is the length of this header? Okay, so let's say it can be 1000 pixels, for example, 1000 pixels, right? And I also need to tell what is the height of this header. Let's say it could be 80 pixels, right? So like this, we need to give specific details to every single measurements that is required for creating these shapes. Okay, so when I do that, I also need to tell what is the length of this menu. For example, this is going to be 1000 pixels, so this will also be 1000 pixels. And this height can be like, let's say maybe 20 pixels, right? I think 20 pixels might be too small, so maybe like 40 pixels or 50 pixels, that's totally up to you. But we need to start with something like this, okay? And then later maybe we can change it depending on what is the requirement. Okay, now for content, again, keep in mind, because this is in the same space here, the width will always be the same. Okay, so as long as you're taking the entire length, the width will always be 1000 pixels. Okay, now when you design your website for the assignment, you need to check the assignment description what width is given there. Okay, so if it is like generally I think it's 960, 9600, I think, something like that. So I think 960, not 9600. So you need to be checking that and making sure that you're designing it in the right width. Okay, okay, good. So next is we need to also know the height here. Okay, so this height is actually a variable height, keep in mind. Okay, so the more content that you add, this will become longer. So maybe you will start with 1000 pixels, but it might have to be increased based on the content that you're going to add. So some of them are variable, some of them are fixed. So whatever is being fixed, we need to fix it right here, and we need to give the same exact number when we design it in Dreamweaver. Okay, and also for the footer. So for example, the footer is going to be, let's say, 80 pixels, and the width is going to be 1000 pixels. So I think you got a basic understanding of what are things that we need before we start with Dreamweaver, right? Okay, so for now, let's just keep these numbers, okay, as a reference. We will use these same numbers in Dreamweaver. We will create the basic layout now. Also, we need to keep in mind that any subdivisions that you make inside these should also have their own divisions. Okay, so for example, if I have to divide the menu section, okay, so this width is 20 pixels, as we know, right? I also need to split this into maybe like 4 different sections, right? So this could be one menu item, second one, third one, fourth one, and probably 5 menu points, right? So for each of these boxes, we need to know what is the width of it. Okay, the height will remain the same, 20 pixels, but the width will have to define. So it could be like 50 pixels or 100 pixels or whatever that is. Okay, so if it is 5 sections and it is 1000, so you need to divide it as 100 pixels. So 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, that becomes 1000. No, that becomes only 500. So it has to be 200 pixels. Okay, so 200 here, 200 here, 200 here, 200 here. So that becomes a total of 1000 pixels. Okay, so these calculations you'll have to make and define it in you can start with the paper drawing first, and then you can do it in Photoshop, and then we will move on to Dreamweaver. Okay, let's keep these values like 1000 pixels and 80 pixels and 200, 200, 200, and we will create this design in Dreamweaver. Okay, so let's just open up Dreamweaver there. Okay, so when we open Dreamweaver, we are welcomed with this screen, right? So we can either create a HTML file directly here, but this time we're going to do something else. Okay, so Dreamweaver is going to give us multiple files, or when we design a website, we are going to have multiple files. They all need to be connected together, which means like we need to have one folder where we save all the files that is required for our website. Okay, so we need to create something called a Dreamweaver site. Okay, so if you don't do this, no problem. If this window doesn't show up, if you turn this off, it won't show up next time. So what you can also do is you can go to the site menu and choose new site. Okay, now keep in mind, if you change your computer, you have to do this every time. Okay, and you need to make sure that when you open it the next time, you need to make sure that the site that you have created, or the folder that you have created, is being connected here. Okay, so when you open this files window, it should show your website here. Okay, if it is not, then you're doing something wrong. Okay, so you need to make sure that you go to manage sites and make sure that you connect your website so that it shows here otherwise you will lose your marks. Okay, fine. So let me go to site menu and choose new site. Okay, so here I have to give a name. This name you will have to enter again and again every time you open. Okay, if it does not show already. Okay, and it doesn't matter what name you give here. This is just for our reference inside Dreamweaver. Okay, so I'm going to call this as Andrew's website. Okay, you can give your name, and I want to choose a folder here. Let's say I will pick up my PC, D drive. Let me create a folder here for my purpose. Here it is. This is Andrew's website. Okay, Andrew website. Okay, so anything that I'm going to create for this website, I have to paste inside this folder. Okay, so for example, if you're using an image, if you want to create a design from Photoshop and you want to bring it to this website, you have to paste that Photoshop file or PNG file, whatever it is, inside this folder. If it is outside, next time you change this to a different computer, it won't work. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I'm going to say select here, so that selects this website, this folder, and the site name is there, and hit save. Okay, now you see the moment I did that, my files has updated now with my website name, right? And it says that there's no file inside. Okay, so that's what we're going to create our first HTML file. Okay, so after you have done this, now I can go to create a new HTML file. I can also do the same thing by going to file and new. So that's up to you. You can also create a HTML here. As you can see, we have a lot of different presets here. Let's not create those presets. We will start with blank fresh file. Okay, so I'm going to use this HTML option here to create a new file. You can also do that by going to file, new. Okay, so it shows just the design section. I want to keep it at split so that you can see what's happening with the code. Okay, so it has automatically created our HTML tag, the head tag, and the ending of head tag, and then body tag, HTML ending tag. Okay, this is where you have the title. So I'm going to write a title here. Now keep in mind this title and this title are the same. So whichever you are editing, it is going to change the other one. Okay, now when you edit the code, you need to be really careful. Okay, so if you delete this one line, this one close bracket by mistake, there will be problems. Okay, so you need to be very careful about editing these content. Okay, so I'm going to write here Andrew's website. And that should also get updated automatically to my title here. Okay, so now keep in mind, this is just the name that is going to show when I open it in a web browser. Okay, the file name still remains the same. Okay, so the file name still remains the same. Now the first HTML file that you create for any website, the first HTML file that you create has to have a special name. Okay, so the first HTML file should have a special name. Okay, what is a special name? Can somebody say? Okay, no, nobody. Okay, the special name is index.html. Keep this in mind. Okay, if you submit a file that does not have an index.html, then you will lose your marks. So this is very important. The first HTML file that you create should have the name index.html. Okay, it can be capital letter, small letter, doesn't matter, but prefer to have small letter only all the time. Okay, so index.html. okay, so this by default now it says untitled one because it's not saved and it does not show here as well, right? So we're going to go to file and choose save. and you can see it automatically goes to my website folder. See, Andrew website folder. So here it says HTML right at the end. So I'm gonna change this untitled to INDEX. Okay, so this is our first HTML file, index.html. Now, why do we have to give this name? Why can't I give some other name? Why does it have to be index.html? That is because when you open this in Google Chrome, okay, when you load it into a web browser, web server, when the website is being asked, it always looks for the index.html. Okay, so only the index.html will be looked for. So if it is there, it is going to open this website. If it is not there, it may not open this website. Okay, so it won't work. So keep in mind, so any website that you are creating, the first file or the first page, the home page, has to be named as index.html. Good. So I'm going to hit save here. Now you can see inside my website I have my first file, which is index.html. Great. So once we have that created, I'm going to write something here. Now when I write here, watch what happens. Oops. Okay. So when I write something here, and you can see that the last change that I did was changing the title here, right? So if I go here, see what happens. The cursor pointer came down here, so that is the body section. So anything that you have in the design area is going to be inside our body section. So what we changed here in terms of the title is part of our title, which is the head section. Now keep in mind, this is not the header that we designed here. Okay, it's not the header that we designed here. It's not the header that we designed here. This is going to be inside our body section only, but the head is the head of the HTML file. Okay, so there are some content that requires to be loaded before the web page is being loaded, or some information that is beyond the content of the web page. So those will be added inside the head section. So anything that we are doing in terms of the design goes inside the body section. Okay, so let me just write here, welcome, say, welcome to my website. Okay, so just some text that I added, and you can see that the text is being added here inside the body section as well. Okay, and watch what happens if I select this content, for example, and I want to change some things, like maybe I can make it bold, right? And you can see that it actually adds the code by itself, right? So it makes it strong, and there's an end tag of strong, right? And I can also make it italicized. You see, it adds the code that is required for that by itself. I can add bullet points. I can change the fonts, the heading. I can make it big. You see, it adds the code by itself, right? And the same way I can also edit these codes. For example, instead of H1, I want to make it like H4. So what happens? This should become smaller. So this is the split view is an easy way for us to check what's happening with our design and what's happening with our code at the same time, right? And we can change something here, it will affect here. If I can change something here, that will affect here. So for example, if I delete this whole thing, boom, everything goes off from here as well. Now sometimes some of these features will remain here even if we delete the content from here. So we need to be careful of these. This may or may not create problem for us. So when you leave something like that, better to delete that as well. So that's why we need to have some basic understanding of how the code works. Okay, fine. So now the next job is for us to create these designs. Okay, where is it? Yeah, so we need to create this header, we need to create the menu, we need to create the content and the footer. Okay, now these different boxes, okay, they are called as div tags. Okay, so these different sections are called as div tags. What is a div tag? D-I-V-T-A-G. Okay, so keep in mind, the header box is a div tag, the menu box is a div tag. Now, the menus inside the menu box is a div tag, and the content is a div tag, and the footer is a div tag. Okay, and all these guys has to stay in one big box. Okay, so that big box is also a div tag. Okay, now what do I mean by div tag and how do we create this div tag? Okay, so let's go to the Dreamweaver here and let's go to insert up here. Okay, so if you go inside insert, you will find something that says insert div tag. Now keep in mind, this div tag is the backbone of our entire design, and we're going to create a lot of div tags during this course. Okay, so you have to put this in the strong part of your brain. Okay, you need to remember this all the time. Okay, so insert div tag. Now you will also find the same thing by going to insert menu, and there should be div tag here as well. Where is it? Should be in the layouts, I guess. Yes, div tag. Okay, so you can either go to insert menu, layout, objects, and then choose div tag, or you can simply go to this insert tab, and there also you will find insert div tag. So we have different sections here. Inside, you can also go inside layout, you will also find insert div tag there, or you can choose from the common one. So they have actually put whatever is being commonly used from other sections and one common space. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that we are in the top section here, and I'm going to choose insert div tag. Okay, so when I choose this insert div tag, it asks me where do I want to insert it. Okay, so it say there are a few options, like I can choose at insertion point, meaning that wherever my cursor point is. So in this case, it is just inside the body section. So it's going to insert the div tag inside the body section. I can also choose start before the end of tag, or I can choose after the start of the tag, and different places. So let's just keep it simple. At insertion point is fine for us. Now it's asking for two other things. One is called a class and the other one is called an ID. Now this is something a little complicated, so for now just listen to me and just do as I'm doing. Okay, I will explain this a bit better when we have the face-to-face class. Okay, so this is a name that we are going to give for this div tag, and the advantage is, like, we can use the same name to create a similar div tag in a different place. Okay, so for example, if I want to create like, let's say one menu box, right? I can use the same div tag to create multiple menu boxes as well. Okay, not the same div tags, the same class name to create multiple as well. So I'm going to give a name to this. This is going to be called as container. So this is the big div tag that I'm creating, the big box. Okay, so generally it is called as container. Some people call it big box. You can give website, you can give any name that you like. Okay, so this is going to be representing the big box that we are creating. Now when I create a class, I also need to define something called CSS rules to say, okay, this class is going to follow these different rules. Okay, so I'm going to click on this new CSS rule. Okay, and then says dot container. That's the class name that we created. For this dot container, I'm going to define some CSS rule. CSS stands for cascading style sheets. We talked in the first lecture. So CSS is basically going to stylize or decide how our website is going to look based on the HTML skeleton that we have created. Okay, so the next thing is, like, we want to it's asking us, do you want this container to remain in the same document, or you want to put this CSS in a separate document? For now, let's just leave it as same document, but later we will have to, when you do your assignment, we have to put it in a separate document. Okay, so for now, let's just, for today's lecture, let's just keep it in the same document. I'm going to click OK. That's it. And now here are the rules that we can define. We can say that, okay, inside this div tag, I want this div tag to be this much width, this much height. I want it to have this color. I want all the text inside to have in a certain font. Okay, I want all this content inside to have a certain font size, font style, and all these different stuff we can set up here. Okay, we can modify this later as well. That's up to us. So I'm going to say a basic font structure. So let's say I can choose something like, generally when we design or choose a font, we actually choose one font, right? And that's the font that is going to be assigned for that text. But with Dreamweaver, because we are actually creating a website which is going to be viewed by different computers, if the computer that it is viewing does not have the font, then we're in trouble. So generally we choose 3 different fonts, and the last one would generally be a font family, right? So what it does is it's going to look for this font, okay? And if it cannot find this font, it is going to look for this font. If it cannot find this font, it's going to find any sans serif font that is available in the website, in the computer. Okay, and it would change to that particular font and display the content. Okay, so that's why website experience from different computers may not be the same. Okay, but now these days we have almost all kinds of fonts built into the website, into the browser itself, so we don't have this issue. But in old days, this was a quite a different experience in terms of different computers. Okay, so let's keep it as it is. Next thing, we can choose a background color. Okay, so I'm going to choose something like that. Okay, you can have a background image if you want. You can choose a picture. Now keep in mind, before you add a picture here, you need to add that picture to this folder. Okay, so go to into the My Computer and make sure that you add the picture in this folder, and then browse and choose that picture. Okay, so you can see that when I go to browse, it automatically goes inside that web in the folder, and you can pick the picture from there, and then you can choose like how you want this picture to be showing. Do you want to be repeated? Do you want it to be fitting into the space, and things like that. Now our most important section here is the box. Okay, so this is where we define the width and height of this object. Okay, so you can actually see that when I created this new rule, you see you have a new section here that says style. Okay, and inside that we have dot container. That's the name of the class name that we created for this big container, right? This container, we're going to give a width of 1000 pixels because we want 1000 pixels to be the width, and the height can be for now 1000 pixels itself, right? And it can change later if we want, or we can just leave it as it is. So once that much is done, I'm going to hit apply. You will see that whatever change we have done is being added as a code here. We changed the font family, we changed the background color, we also added a height and width, right? So once we're happy with the results, let's just hit OK for now and hit OK one more time. And now it says we have a div tag. Remember div tag, div tag, right? So we have a div tag with a class name container, and it has some content inside that says content for class container goes here. I'm just going to delete that just to keep that space clean. Okay, and we have a closing of div tag. Keep in mind, so any tag that you open has to be closed. Okay, so if I want to create something inside this, I will have to put it between this opening and closing tag. Okay, so I can also press enter here just to have some space. Now this space in the code is not going to do anything here in our design. Okay, so I just deleted that content, so that's gone. Now let me just go back to the design section. So we have one box here. Now that I have one box here, it says container. It has a kind of weird color. Okay, now we can preview this website in a web browser. Okay, so we can also try this live view. Okay, so that's going to show you how it's going to look, right? We can also preview this in web browser. Now, anytime you see a small star here next to the index.html or the file name, that means this file is not being saved. Okay, so let's go to file and choose save. So you can see the star is gone now, and I can click on this little globe button, and I can choose preview in Chrome or Web Internet Explorer or any website. So let me hit the preview in Chrome. There you go. So we have our website. You can see that the name of the website here, and we just have one rectangular shape or square shape, 1000 pixels width and 1000 pixels height. Okay, so let me try to bring this to the center. Just keeping it in the left end is not looking that nice. Okay, so to bring it to the center, I'm going to select this guy. Okay, and you will see the CSS style here. Okay, and in the CSS style, it actually shows the name here. There it is, container div tag. Okay, so I'm going to click on this little pencil button to edit the CSS rules. Okay, so it opens up the same content that we saw earlier, and I'm going to say go to margin section. So it says same for all. Let's just keep this off, and I'm going to say the right is going to be automatically decided and the left is also going to be automatically decided. So what's going to happen is it's going to find out how much space is there in the left side, and it's going to find out how much space is in the right side. I mean left side here and right side here, and it's going to keep the same size in both sides. Okay, so I'm going to hit apply here. You see it came to the center. Now if I go to OK, and you will see these little lines, that means that says it's going to measure the side, the length in the right side and the length in the left side, and it's going to try to put it exactly in the middle. I'm going to go to File, Save, and if I don't save, when I go to Preview, it'll ask me to save. So I'm going to say Preview. There you go. So we have same space in the left and same space in the right. And now if I just make it smaller, and I can actually compare it here. See, when I make it smaller, again, it tries to make sure that this length is same as this length. So it always stays in the center of the screen. Perfect. Let me hit close here, and let me just create the header inside, and we will end today's lecture here. Okay, so now let me go back to my split view. So I have my container here. So inside the container, I'm going to create the next div tag. Okay, so let's go to insert div tag. Now where you place your mouse cursor is very important. So if you keep it here and create a div tag, this div tag is going to be outside the container, so keep in mind. So let's keep it inside here and insert div tag. So this is going to be called as header. Okay, and let's go to new CSS rule, header. I'm keeping it at this document only. Hit OK. So you should see there's a new header style is being created, and whatever font that I have applied or background color that I have applied for the previous one, which is covering this new header, also gets applied to this as well. Okay, so this font family is automatically applied to this because this is inside the container unless I change it here. Okay, so let's give a different background color so we know the difference. Let's say we'll keep it yellow or red, and let's go to box here. So the width is going to be 1000 pixels, same size, same width, and the height is going to be how much did we decide here? 80, I think. Yes, 80 pixels. So let's give 80 pixels. I'm going to choose float here left because we want everything to be arranged from the left side to the right side until it reaches the end, and it'll come back to the next line. Okay, I'll explain that probably in the next lecture a bit more detailed. Okay, let me hit apply here. Okay, one more time. We should see the header here. Ta-da! Okay, I think the header is too small. We can make it bigger anyway, no problem. So I'm going to save this. This is going to be my header. I'm going to say I'm going to write some text here. Let's say welcome to my website. Let's go to File, Save, and I'm going to preview that in Chrome. There you go. So we have a header. Now like this, we need to create different div tags for example, menu section. We need to have a div tag for the container, the content. And if we want to divide the content into different sections, again, inside the content, we need to create other div tags. So div tags, every div tag for every single box that you're going to create. So every single box that you see has to be created as a div tag. Okay, so here as well, I'm going to create one here, and inside that, if I want to put a picture, again, I will have to have a div tag. If I want to have some text here, I need to have a div tag. Again, more text here, I need to have other div tags, and that's it. You create a lot of div tags and you will have your website ready. So I've saved this file, and you will see here we have our website folder, and inside that we have our index.html. Basically, the next time I open the same computer, it would show this content. If it is not, then you again need to go to site and new site. Same folder name you will choose and give the same name here and choose save, so that it would show here, and then you will continue working.